What is going on, everybody? Today we are back out here at Larch Mountain Jones Creek. They opened everything back up, so all the trails for UTVs and ATVs and Jeeps and like that kind of stuff are all open. So we are going to kind of test out what we have done. So I'm running like 21 PSI in my tires all the way around. No sway bar, and we're gonna see how it does on more of a Jeep-ish type trail. And I'm gonna just put you guys kind of on the dash, or maybe I'll stick you guys to the hood, something like that, and run through the trail. Video doesn't do it justice. I know there's some gnarlier parts of this trail, but it's still pretty mild, so the old truck should do all right. Might have to end up whipping out the winch, but we'll see what happens. So we're gonna give her a good old college try, and here is the start of the trail here. So you can see normally this Jersey barrier is blocking the trail during, it's like October to April 1st. October 1st to April 1st, they close all the trails for weather and maintenance. It just gets a lot of snow up here, so it's a safety issue, and they don't want all the trails getting tore up. It just creates more maintenance for them when they come and open up the trails. So here is the trail marker, and again, not super crazy. It should be a good kind of dip our toes in the water a little bit and see how the truck does. All right, let's go. Hopefully that's a good view that you guys can see. And again, it's, I wouldn't say the gnarliest trail, but I don't think too many full-size trucks go down it, so we'll see how she does. And I have a very strict policy that you play in two and get out in four, so we're gonna do as much of this as we can with no locker in two-wheel drive, and see how far we can make it without having to go into four-wheel drive. And again, I'm down here at I'm about 21 PSI ish. Little bit of wheel spin, but not too bad. Should be able to creep around this without having to go up on it too much. Oh, and there we go. So switching into 4 high, and we'll kick the rear locker on just because we're here, we might as well, and keep on going. There we go. Boom like a glove. Definitely wouldn't recommend this like I'm doing it, which is alone. But I know the limits of my vehicle, I know the limits of me, and I'm not gonna put myself in a situation where I'm going to have to call somebody. I'm gonna try not to put myself in a situation where I have to call somebody. And also I have all my recovery gear, I have a winch. There's lots of stuff to winch from, worst case scenario. And then all that aside, I have, I don't know, maybe 2 miles to walk back to service, if that. So, you know, I'm giving myself enough opportunity to, worst case scenario, I have backups. So definitely don't be out here alone if you're, you know, 30 miles from civilization or 30 miles from getting cell phone service, or you don't have any backup plans, or, you know, you don't have any recovery gear. That's another big thing. If you're by yourself, which you shouldn't be, which I'm setting a terrible example, but make sure that you have recovery gear with you, because at least that will give you, if you just end up getting stuck, you might be able to get yourself out, you know, i.e. traction boards, straps, a come along even. What else can you use? Let's see, a high lift you can use as a come along, worst case scenario. I mean, it's not ideal, but it works if you need to get yourself out of a bind. And obviously having a winch is, you know, probably the best thing, I would say. But if you have a vehicle that isn't winch capable, or, you know, you don't have the money for a winch, or whatever the situation is, and you can't afford a winch, then you're not gonna be, you use what you have available, which, like I said, could be a multitude of things. Just make sure that you have that in your mind and that you're prepared. That's the biggest thing that I see, is that people come out here and play around or do something stupid or get a little bit too big for their britches and get themselves in a situation that they can't get themselves out of. Pretty, like I said, pretty mild trail, not anything too crazy. The gatekeeper back there was probably I would say the worst part of the trail, but nothing too bad. I would definitely, you know, I wouldn't feel too bad taking the wife on this. It's pretty open. I'm in a full-size rig, and I have tow mirrors on my truck too that I'm sure you guys have seen, and no issues as far as fitting in here. I haven't had to fold them in or nothing like that, so good to go there. It's a very good beginner trail if you're new into four-wheel driving or off-roading or things of that nature. You can come find a trail similar to this. Obviously not everybody's gonna have access to Jones Creek or Larch Mountain, so it's gonna be different for everybody. But if you can find somewhere that's very similar, a blue trail or a blue wave trail, I'm not sure what they call them. You know, there's black diamond and double black diamond and all that kind of stuff, and I think that this is just a blue trail, which means beginner. So it's a great trail to cut your teeth on and see what your rig's capable of, what it's not capable of. There's a log. Up and over that, no problem. Putting this truck in four-wheel drive with the locker and everything is a huge difference. It never ceases to amaze me. I'm like, I get to a point where I'm like, oh man, I don't know if we're gonna make it through that, and put her in 4-low with that rear locker, and man, it's incredible what these things are capable of going through. And this thing has such a long wheelbase, which helps in some situations, and it doesn't help in other situations, but it's what we got, so it's what we deal with. Normally, to accommodate a longer wheelbase, you want to go up to keep your ground clearance a little bit taller, and I'm only up 3.5 inches or so with 35, so not super tall, but it seems to be enough for this type of stuff. And again, this isn't a rock crawling type vehicle. This is, you know, a daily driver slash come out here and play on these blue trails and mess around, see what we're capable of, and go from there. Nothing that's gonna, you know, throw us into a rock and damage the body or nothing like that, so nothing too crazy. I don't have my sliders on yet, so that would definitely help with some of these rocks that are coming up here right in front of us, but it is what it is for now, because again, that's what we have. A slider, we'd be able to just kind of kick the ass end around with that guy, but no issues whatsoever. Gets a little tight here coming to the end of the trail, and so we get a little bit tighter through here. We kind of got to pick our lines a little bit better because we don't have the greatest steering. I'd compare it to about a Mack truck. It's not that bad, but you know, keep in mind, if you have a little 4Runner or something like that, it's going to be a lot different than something like this. So now we come over here, and this is where it gets a little bit hairy. So I'm going to stop, and I will actually pull you guys out and show you guys what we got going on here, because we don't want to cause no body damage, but at the same time, we don't want to back up and turn around. We want to keep going. Ended up having to come over the other way, which worked out a lot better. But yeah, we're gonna keep driving around up here and see if we can't find some more trails. And for a damage report, absolutely nothing. Kept everything away from the body panels, didn't even have to fold the old mirrors in. Old girl did great. off camera, I already checked underneath, nothing hit. We were just getting this running board a little bit, not a big issue. They're really not worth nothing, so they're just kind of my protection for now. Cheap insurance until I get my sliders on there. I don't want to mess up my back steps, so that's kind of more so my worry. But again, it's the price you pay when you're out here playing around. So, but otherwise, no issues. Oh, since the last video, I did get my canopy, as you guys can see here. So this is an ARE MX. So it's the high rise here. It's got a little bit of it's like a 6-inch bump up top, which I think looks great with all the other racks and stuff. It'll also allow me to run my canopies, or my kayaks going this way and not interfere with my box or my rack, which was kind of a big deal for me. I wanted to be able to keep everything up there, not have to worry about modifying stuff when I carried one thing or another. But these wind doors are awesome. I opted against the screen. I just wanted to be able to get inside of them, and so I have full access in here. My sway bar that is no longer connected. And then this is just some of the stuff I carry. I got a little DeWalt 20-volt chainsaw over there because it's great for just cutting quick stuff out of the trail. Half-inch impact over there for lugs or whatever it is, makes it a lot quicker and nicer. And then I also carry a DeWalt flashlight. Got all my batteries, pliers, some other random stuff in this bag right here, just tool type stuff. And then here's all my straps and recovery gear right over here by my high lift. And then I got a shovel and an axe up front as well. So that's pretty light from what I usually carry, just out here relatively close to home, so not gonna carry too much with me just for this little stuff. But definitely recovery gear. Like I said, that stays with the truck at all times, it never leaves it. And then tools I throw in when I'm coming up and doing this type of stuff. All right, throw the seatbelt back on. Super important to wear your seatbelt when you're out doing this kind of stuff in case you roll over or, you know, cruising a Forest Service road and somebody hits you. You always want to be wearing your seatbelt. All right, guys, I have you stuck onto the side of the truck right now. Now I'm using a full Sony mirrorless camera, a Sony point and shoot ZV-1. So it's not a GoPro or nothing. It's kind of heavy. I got you guys on a suction cup mount. I hope you guys don't fall off, so I'm gonna be checking pretty periodically. But I'm hoping that this gives you kind of a better view of the trails that we're gonna be going up. And I don't think you guys stick out any further than my mirror. So as long as my mirror doesn't touch, you guys should be good. But here we go. how's that, guys? I was making sure you guys didn't have no water or nothing on you. That was a mirror folder for sure. Not a bad trail, just pretty vertical and really tight. Alright, so now we're going to get into why I deleted my sway bar and what it does and what it doesn't do. So you guys can see right now, the back wheel is pretty tucked. This front wheel is down pretty far. You know, in the wheel well, it doesn't sit like that on when it's riding on the road, obviously. So that sway bar connects my lower control arms together to the frame. And so it only allows for a certain amount of flex, and it only allows for a certain amount of the suspension travel to be used. And so if I had my sway bar on right now, if I parked like I'm parking right now, this wheel would be on the ground, that wheel would be on the ground, the front driver wheel would be on whatever I placed it on, but it wouldn't allow for the front to come up like it does, which would make this wheel actually be teetering. It would keep this wheel off the ground. And not because you lose articulation in the back, but because you don't get as much articulation in the front, and so it causes the truck to be more articulated than it actually is, making you not be able to use the full articulation of the rear end. So having the sway bar off allows me to pull up, and this isn't anything crazy, you know, but if I were to do this with my sway bar connected, I bet you this back wheel would be teetering about 6 inches off the ground where it currently is. So it does that. It allows for more articulation, which actually makes it safer, because instead of risking flipping over because you're losing articulation, it allows your suspension to have more movement independent from each other, versus being connected together with that sway bar. So we're able to come up onto things like this and articulate that truck and still have all 4 tires planted on the ground, which gives it that stability. So that's the reason why I chose to disconnect my sway bar. Now, I didn't just disconnect my sway bar, I actually opted to remove it altogether. So I'll show you guys what it looks like when you remove it. Oh, that's locked. So this is the sway bar here. So these brackets that you see, these guys here, they actually mount to the frame. It comes out, and then you have these sway bar end links here that are on ball joints on both ends, and these go into the lower control arms, and you have one on each end, here and here. And it makes everything, it's great for on the road, because when you go around a corner, it doesn't allow the front end to sway all that much, and so it keeps the truck more planted when you're going around corners and you're on the road and things like that. But when you come out onto the trails, you want to be able to use all that articulation. Now, with me, I have aftermarket shocks, I have Bilsteins, and they're quite a bit stiffer on road than they are than stock. So I opted to delete my sway bar because I don't notice that much of a difference when I'm on the road. Now there is a difference, not saying there's no difference, but it's minimal for me and for what I do. And I don't tow all that much weight, so I don't really have to worry about that. And I mean, it does 70 down the freeway and it stays in its own lane really easily. You know, still one finger wheel, so no steering wheel, that is. It's no issues there, and it allows us to do stuff like this and go down trails and be a lot better off. Oh man! And here's a good example for why I really need my I really need to get my rock sliders in, because you can see that scratch there. And these are acting as just kind of my body armor right now because we don't have too much else. We'll get this closed down. Shout out to Team Overland, those guys are awesome, check them out. Alrighty, I'm gonna hook you guys back up, we'll go down the trail and maybe go find some more trails. Alright guys, here's a perfect example of why I carry a bag of tools with me, and I always pick up what I pack in plus some. Let me show you guys, this is just from that little trail that we were just on. You can see, got a bunch of wire. All this crap is wrapped up in there in my axle. Now, luckily I heard it and I caught it before it got any worse, but I got myself some side cutters here. which, I mean, it's a good thing I have them, otherwise I'd be fishing that stuff out. So just gonna cut this off and throw it in the trash bag and move down the trail. Don't, you know, you never want to just put it on the side of the trail, because then somebody else might get in it, and you know, if it's already, you're already here, just pick it up. All that crap wrapped up in the back axle. Sometimes people really suck. Obviously not everybody's like that, but don't forget your tool back in the bag. And you ain't got to carry a whole toolbox with you by any means, but you know, I got some shrink wrap, I got some wire connectors, some electrical stuff, screwdrivers, zip ties, an adjustable wrench, channel locks, just that kind of stuff, just the very basics. That way, like you guys just saw, if anything like that happens, we're covered. right, everybody, I think that's pretty much going to cover it for this video. I just wanted to come out here, kind of test everything out, see what works, see what doesn't work, discover the limits of the truck, discover the limits of myself. Now, with most overlanding, you're never going to get into as technical of stuff that I did. Those were mostly Jeep and Toyota trail type things. Obviously, I didn't go up the super gnarly stuff. I stayed out of the rock gardens. You know, just stuff that I know is just going to cause issues, and there's no reason to put myself in, or the truck, in situations that, one, there's just no reason for it. It's not designed for rock crawling. It's designed for even a little bit less than what we were doing today, and that's where the aftermarket type stuff comes into play. You know, and I'm sure you guys heard it. There's some areas where you're rubbing. Truck coming up the trail. It's always so weird when you're filming yourself and somebody comes up, because it just feels awkward. But there's some areas where we were rubbing running boards right now where wish, you know, we had rock sliders, but for now we don't. So that kind of limited us a little bit. But all in all, I think that the truck did really good. And, you know, I'm sure you guys can attest to that as well. For being a full size, you know, 165-inch wheelbase truck, it's long. Crew cab, 6.5 foot bed. It's not designed for the stuff that I was really taking it on today. But with that being said, it does just fine. So it's really just a limit of yourself at that point. But other than that, that's going to wrap up this video. I appreciate you guys watching, and please leave a comment if you guys liked it, what you guys want to see, what you guys don't want to see. If there's any particular thing that you guys want or don't want, then I will, you know, make it a point to make a video of that, or not make a video of it if you guys don't want it. But other than that, until next time, appreciate you guys watching, and have a good one.